Whenever you're ready.
All right, on me.
Yep.
All right. Wait. Before we go, what episode is this? 14 or 15?
Let me check
I
the
think it's
YouTube.
14, of
Let me check the YouTube.
course.
14.
Okay. All right. Cool. We're chilling. There you go. Ready? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 14 of Down to the Wire. I'm the Shark, alongside with the Breadstick, and honestly, as you know, in Texas, it hit a very massive snowstorm. Power has been out and all that, so that's on us for not. That's why we haven't been able to upload videos like last week. But power's all back and we're all good to go. So, Gabe, to start off, I'm just gonna while we talk on the weather, with it being ice cold, what are some teams in the league that are just like ice cold? They can't seem to get anything going.
Well, Dalton, I'm gonna be a little bit, or not weird, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my NBA schedule since I have dual monitors now. So it'll help us a little bit when we're talking about stuff, just to fact check instead of me looking down at my phone. But some not so surprising or bad teams, which let's talk about the Cavs. The Cavs were doing phenomenal. They were doing better than expected, and now they are playing expected because I think the entire Andre Drummond situation has made things harder.
Mm.
And them just trying to
And like,
integrate Jared Allen into the system, it's not really working as well as they thought it would. And I think just Colin Sexton's playing well. Darius Garland's meshing with him. I think they also need to get rid of Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love needs out. He needs to go find a team that works for him. He's given Cleveland and Minnesota all he can, but I think now they need to can him so then they can focus on the future, because with him he's not going to be a future asset unless that they're going to keep him as a role play veteran. But I just don't see the Cavs making it far with Kevin Love there, and they need to rebuild that team.
like that. And what about for the West?
The West, I'm gonna go with with the West. I'm gonna go with the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans have a lot of young firepower that just they're not utilizing correctly. You have Zion, who's been a beast. He's been doing what he needs to do. Say with Brandon Ingram, but you have guys like Lonzo, Josh Hart, Jackson Hayes, JJ Redick. They're good players. They're just not fitting into the role that they play to. You need to find a system that will play to your strengths, and none of those players are playing to their strengths in this system. I talk about Lonzo Ball sometimes because I think that his career is being wasted in New Orleans because his style is where they run and gun, and he can't do that. I think with him not being able to run and gun makes things a little bit harder. So then they don't get utilized well. And I think Josh Hart and Jackson Hayes are two good players. I think that with the right system, they can be good role play players. But I think the Pelicans with the first year coach, I don't remember who the coach is, but Alvin Gentry is not the coach anymore.
I
But
think it's Van Gundy.
is it Stan Van Gundy?
Yeah, that's who it is.
No wonder they're doing trash. Makes sense. But anyways, no, but he's there. He's just not utilizing and creating a good system for Lonzo and the rest of those guys to be in. So they either need to get traded or they need to fix their system. Because I think Zion can go into a run and gun system because he is strong and he's fast. So, Brandon
Yeah.
Ingram, I don't know too much. His style is kind of like Kevin Durant, so it is a little bit harder for him to do that type of stuff. Because Katie's not a run and gun type player. But I think if that system either needs to be changed or those players need to either change their roles or they need out because that's not working for them.
I got you. And also, Also, one of the things I saw is that the Houston Rockets are on a bit of a losing streak. Gabe, tell us about that.
With the Houston Rockets, I think they're trying to figure out where they are because they did lose. They went from the number one seed in 2018 to now the 13th seed, which is what I'm looking at. And I think mainly because they're just trying to figure out what they are. Because I think that that's a team with no identity. They're looking to part ways with DeMarcus Cousins. Um, you get John Wall, his first year back from 2018. That's 3 years ago. He hasn't played an NBA game. You're getting a Victor Oladipo who is coming off an injury. Christian Wood's playing phenomenal. I think they are a future playoff contending team. They just need to figure out what's best for them because you still have guys like Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, but I think they just need to figure out what's best for their system that they're trying because they also lost their coach with Mike D'Antoni. But now they just need to figure out what's best suited for them if it's the future or not. And I think with a losing streak of 7 games, that which is what I'm looking at right now, they have a losing streak of 7 games. It looks like they're playing for the future.
Ah, I like that. So that was from the ice cold side things. Now let's go over to the good side, aka the cold blooded. So Gabe, who are those teams that are just cold blooded
You,
and they're like
you
not meant
can't
to be messed
you cannot mention. I mean, you cannot forget to mention the Jazz. The Jazz are figuring it out. They've been utilizing all of their pieces correctly. Mike Conley's playing phenomenal. Donovan Mitchell's doing what he needs to do. Rudy Gobert has kind of quieted down, but he's still doing what he needs to get done. Joe Ingles is being phenomenal. Bodan Bogdanovic been doing what he needs to do. That team is just a well-rounded team, and it was just amount of time just for them from going from last year to this year, and they just were able to figure out what they need to do. I was talking with one of our other special guests, Colby, a little bit about it, and because Colby's a big Jazz fan, but what we were talking about is this their peak? Are they gonna peak now and then start losing and then get to a low playoff seed, or are they gonna peak towards maybe April and not be able to get far in the playoffs? Because the Jazz the last few years have made the playoffs, but it was a pretty low
mm-hmm.
seed and they haven't made it too far. I think the farthest they made was the second round, which they lost to the Warriors. I don't know if that's the latest, but I remember that series. But yeah, it just the Jazz are killing it, and I hope they can keep it up because I like Donovan Mitchell's game. I think he has a lot of a mix of a Russell Westbrook and a Dwayne Wade in him. Um, but yeah, I think there's just I just hope that the Jazz keep it going and they're a strong playoff contention team.
Yeah, I like that. And also about the Jazz, it was on one of the games earlier this season where Donovan Mitchell went on the Inside the NBA and Shaq called him out and said that he's not ready. Do you think that was a fire they needed in order for them to be where they are?
I don't necessarily know if it's that. I think that they just figured it out. I think
Mm-hmm.
that with the pieces, because Mike Conley's this is his first or second year with the Jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they went from a fourth seed to now the first seed. So I think that is a big part of it is that they've gotten a lot of good pieces that they're just utilizing. Because if you think about it, the Lakers, I think the Lakers would still be the first seed if Anthony Davis wasn't out. So I think the Jazz would be a second seed. So they jumped up 2 spots. The Clippers are a confusing team to me, so I don't really know what they are. So I think a second seed is understandable, but I just don't understand. So I think the Jazz makes sense being a second seed because they went from fourth to first now, with AD being out. So I don't know. I think the Jazz are a good team. I don't think it's necessarily because Donovan Mitchell doesn't seem like someone who would clap back at something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We have to see what if they win a championship and see what motivated him to push forward for going from. I think it's more so of not him being able to win and what Shaq said. I think it's more of being down 3-1 again, or being up 3-1 against the Nuggets and losing. Cause see, let's say AD comes back and the Lakers are somehow able to pull off the 1 seed, and the Jazz move down to a 2 seed. That's a Nuggets Jazz playoff match right there in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Or if maybe the Nuggets move down to the 8th seed, that's a Jazz Nuggets rematch, and I think we all want to see that. I definitely want to see that. Like, that would be a definite good rematch. And I think Donovan Mitchell is going in with a big chip on his shoulder, and he's going in with a vengeance, trying to get back into high playoff contention.
Yeah, I like that. And speaking of the playoffs, I mean, so basically you're saying if the Jazz and Nuggets went up playing against each other, and last I checked, I think Golden State is still the 8th seed.
Yeah, Golden State's the 8th seed.
And if Golden State were to play the Lakers, I don't know how far. I think that's a matchup everyone would like to see. Is Curry and LeBron go at it again? I don't know about you.
Yeah,
that would obviously.
I mean, you've been watching Curry and LeBron go at it for like the last 4 or 5 years, so it wouldn't be something that's like phenomenal, but like it'd be fun to watch. I'm looking at the Warriors versus Lakers. They play this week or next week. I think they also played one, and the Warriors actually beat the Lakers with a pretty full, healthy team. I mean, again, Anthony Davis has not been fully healthy, but he was out on the floor. No, but I think the games would go to 5 or 6. The Lakers probably taking it, unless if the Warriors just somehow figure it out between everybody. But I really don't know what would actually happen. I think that'd be a definite big what if that you could draw out. Because obviously on paper the Lakers are a better team. The Warriors just haven't figured it out. They've had a little bit of injury and foul trouble lately. That's holding them back from getting up to a high playoff seed. But all in all, I think Curry would turn it on for the playoffs. LeBron would turn it off for the playoffs, and just it would matter about the supporting cast. Whose supporting cast would do better.
I like that. Now, since we talked about the West, obviously that's the Jazz. What about the East?
The East, I would say you've got to give it to the 76ers. The top 2 teams in the NBA right now are just absolutely killing it. The 76ers have been playing out of their mind, and I think it's partially because Joel Embiid I don't know what that man did, but he is playing on an MVP caliber level, and he is making a good case for himself for being the best center in the NBA. Because I think they also did a really good job on picking up a lot of key pieces. For they got Seth Curry, they got who else did they get? Let's see. 76ers.
Didn't they pick up Danny Green? I know they picked up him.
Danny Green, they picked
Danny.
Yeah. Matisse Thybulle, I think he's been on the team a little bit, but he's not a bad player. Terrence Ferguson is a good player. They got Dwight Howard for a good mentor role. I think Shake Milton has been pretty well too playing. No, but yeah, so I think they picked up a lot of key pieces, but it's just you can't overlook Joel Embiid's playing. Let's look at his stats right now. His stats are he's playing right now against.
All right, he wasn't the only one going floater.
Let's mute that. But he is playing against the Raptors right now, and he has 23, 17, and 2. And he's a plus minus and -1. They're down 7 to the Raptors, which is kind of surprising. But all in all, his stats this season, he's 55 from field goal, 40% from 3. 40% from 3.
For a big man?
For a big man, he's 40% from 3, 31 points a game, 1 block per game, and 11 rebounds per game.
That's MVP caliber things right there.
Yeah. And let's check his. In the last 10 games, he's 39.1% from 3-pointer. He's shooting it. Okay, but this is the thing I want to talk about. With foreign players especially European players, I think they're more fundamentally sound than American players are. So that's why they are able to shoot and pass the ball more efficiently than American style players are. Especially big men. Well, not even Luka Doncic. Like, look at Nikola Jokic. Great passing big man, can shoot the ball, and he's fundamentally sound. He is like Tim Duncan. Not like I'm just not like his play style, but like he's just fundamentally sound, like Tim Duncan was fundamentally sound. I think that both of those players are both very good, fundamentally sound players. But there's a lot of good European talent that have the skills to play. Like who's Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is a really good 3-point shooter. Maybe he's not as known because because the Jazz aren't doing that well and he's not the number one guy. But he can shoot the ball. He can definitely shoot the ball. And I think him being able to shoot the ball is really, really good for him and his team. And people overlook that. And I think with talent like that, like who's another good big man that can shoot the ball? Kristaps Porzingis. Another good man that can shoot the ball. And I think with that, he will be it gives you more proof on why European players are more fundamentally sound than other American style players are. Because let's say, give me a center that I think Karl Anthony Towns is a center that doesn't really shoot the ball well. Like he doesn't shoot it well.
He can shoot, but he's not consistent.
He's not consistent. He's very streaky, and he doesn't shoot the ball as well as these other big men do. The only last consistent 3-point big man that I really remember from America is DeMarcus Cousins. In his 2016 season, he was knocking it down.
Yep.
But besides that, I can't really think of an American center or American big man that is really knocking it down. And I'm talking I'm talking like big power forward center guys, not like PJ Tucker, who's he's more like a small forward, but he just plays power forward because they don't really have anywhere else to put him. But yeah, that's
you can also mention Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin doesn't shoot the ball well, though. He has not shot the ball well ever in his career. He tries to be a good 3-point shooter, and he hasn't dunked the ball since 2019, right?
Or Lob City days. They dunked it consistently.
Yeah. I mean, from career, he's 33%. From this year, he's 31%. That's not good for an average. I mean, it's decent for an average basketball player, but that's not good. That's not consistent enough. And on the last 10 games for Blake Griffin, he has shot 23% from 3-pointer. That is not good.
Nope.
Because and I'll give you a reason why. I'll give you a reason why these big men and these American-style players are not as fundamentally sound. Because these players aren't focused about that. It's a showcase on what you can do athletically. Like AAU is a showcase on what you can do athletically.
Yep.
So it's more about the crossing, the dunking, the step-back 3-point shot, like the flair in your NBA game. It's not about true 5-on. It's more on multiple 1-on-1 games happening in a 5v5 basketball game rather than 5v5 basketball. And I also like to point out, and European basketball players play when they're pretty young. They start playing professional basketball when they're pretty young. Tony Parker, a good NBA championship small point guard who did what he was supposed to do for that team, and arguably the second option on that team, played professional basketball when he was 14. Like, that's... Like, I can't believe... Like, that's why he was so fundamentally good at basketball with the rest of the Spurs squad. Is because he played basketball at a young age, and in Europe, they're focused more on fundamental basketball rather than the AAU.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to play the game well compared to other people.
Pelicans.
Hate ESPN. They keep playing my song. But anyways, go.
Yeah, essentially, because like there's other European players. You know, guys like Ricky Rubio, who, if I recall correctly, he was on the Spain national team for the Olympics one year, and he was only like in his teenage years whenever he did it. And and same thing goes along with Maverick Scar, Luka Doncic. I mean, he started playing for Real Madrid when he was doing it when he was 13, 14. Earned his way he was going up against like grown men at the age of 16 years old. So, I mean, they definitely do. I think European players do have a little bit of an advantage over American, only because they play like more like professional wise, and like you said, like while in the U.S. they do AAU and then they do college basketball, which I think is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they do 20-minute halves, I mean, still it's nothing like a European basketball game or overseas, so to say.
I think overseas is closer to the NBA than college is. Because I was watching another interview with it was a De'Aaron Fox on Colin Cowherd's interview, and it was like maybe 2 years ago. And he asked him, what is one thing that you would redo over in your career? Or what is the one advice you would give Zion? Because Zion was really big and he was coming into the league. And, and De'Aaron Fox said, the speed of the game. The speed of the game took me by surprise. Like, he thought that he was pretty good, but, like, it caught him. But, like, some people just adjust fine. And I think European players adjust fine because they've played... That's why Luka Doncic he's an all-star superstar already, because he was doing these things back in... He's from Serbia, right? Spain, Serbia?
From Slovenia.
Oh, Slovenia? Okay.
He went to Spain to play basketball.
Okay. But yeah, he was doing these things in the Euro League Euro League. But he came over to NBA and started doing these things, and look at him now.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another...
He's already in...
Yeah, he's already had that experience, and he's already been playing like that. So he was able to adjust his game correctly. And I think a lot of European players are able to do that. I think that's why European players are starting to make up like 30-40% of the league now, because they're actually really, really good players. That's why basketball IQ is so underrated nowadays. Because it's overlooked because, can you cross someone up? Can you dunk the ball? Can you step back 3-point, hit the shot for the clutch? But this is what wins you games. You could play hero ball all you want. But if you don't play good basketball, you're going to end up losing the game.
Yep.
It's good. Sure. It's good for the regular season. Hero ball is okay for the regular season. But in the playoffs, you have to play like a team. And I think European players play more of their role position for the team rather than anybody else, any other type of players.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Dalton, I want to ask you something, not related to the ice cold-blooded stuff.
Yeah, no.
But what is your opinion on Luka Doncic not making the starting five for the Western Conference?
Didn't? Who made it?
Okay.
Curry
Okay. Well, let me pull that up. NBA starting, and to nobody gets confused, they are still doing the draft. Because I saw some comments on Instagram on different things saying that this is the actual lineups. No, they are doing a draft. they've done a draft for the last few years. They are doing a draft again. It's the same format as the Kobe format for last year. All right.
Yeah.
So on the West, you have. Let me look at it. So this is the question I'm asking you is, do you think Lillard got snubbed and Luka shouldn't have made it? Because the lineup for the starting five on the West is Luka, Curry, LeBron, Jokic, and Leonard. And on the other side, it's Irving, Beal, Durant, Antetokounmpo, and Embiid. So I think the East, the only argument you can make is Kyrie Irving not being in there and Jaylen Brown being in there because Jaylen Brown's having a phenomenal year. But on the West, it's Damian Lillard is having a better season, and the Trailblazers are doing better than the Mavericks are. So did Luka Doncic snub Damian Lillard out of a spot in the starting five?
Here's the thing. First, you have to realize that Luka hasn't had the best of like support. He really only had that Porzingis, and that's the reason why they haven't been doing that great. Is because their depth it isn't that great as it was compared to last year. They trade away some players, but then for Portland, realize that they have CJ McCollum, who's a great player, and then Carmelo Anthony is starting to get back to what he used to do. So I'm gonna be biased and say that Luka didn't snub out Lillard because Luka has still been performing really good, and he's averaging a near triple double for this season. Now for Lillard, I mean he's putting up monster numbers, and he has a top 4 seed in the West if I remember correctly. But anyway, I just think that Luka's supporting cast isn't that great, and that's why they put him as a spotter over with Lillard, who has a supporting cast.
The thing about it, though, is that Luka Doncic on interviews, and he was talking about the All-Star votes, and he said, I didn't expect that I was going to start this game. I know that maybe Lillard deserved it more than me. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, like he's just being humble, and he's realizing that, he's realizing that Lillard's impact on Portland. He's just trying to humble himself and just be like, hey, like Lillard's impact on Portland is better than the impact he's had on the Mavs, and like I just said, Portland's seeding is better than the Mavericks. And I just think they're just giving it to Luka because I think it's more of like a numbers, and Luka's kind of more balanced, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just think he's just humbling himself and trying to give more credit to Lillard.
I mean, he is definitely a humble player, but if you do look at his numbers, it has had a drastic drop between seasons. And I think he's not really looking at his stats rather than his team. I think that the Mavs last year had a better supporting cast than the 2018 Cavs did, and LeBron was still able to bring them to the finals. So I think he wants to do more as a leader, and I think that's why he's not playing as well as he could be. And I think that's why he's saying that maybe Damian Lillard deserves the spot over him. But anyways, that's all the time we had for today. I want to thank you all for watching this episode of Down to the Wire. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please do like, comment down below, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get our videos every Tuesday and Thursday for specifically Down to the Wire. We'll be planning out other stuff for the future, and make sure you follow mine, Shark's socials, and the SAS socials as well. We will be trying to post weekly on that. A lot of our updates for our videos, if anything happens, you can be found on there. And yeah, until next time, we out. Peace.